Welcome back to In Ohio Country today, and joining me now is Randall Reeder, and we're here at the Ohio No-Till Conference at one of my favorite locations. You can't go wrong at Dirt Dutchman. The food is fantastic. Randall, thanks for joining us.
Well, glad to be here. Glad to have you here.
Well, we appreciate your invitation and some great interviews sharing with our television audience today. Let's talk about some of the speakers here today that you had. One in case, of course, our friend from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. That was fantastic talking to him, Bill Chain.
Yes, Bill Chain, and it was a good opportunity for us to have him here. I added up the number. We've got 16 speakers here altogether.
Oh, wow.
Including panelists and those who are getting awards who will give a short presentation. So
Yeah.
a great lineup in my mind.
Let's talk about the people who are attending this particular conference. You've got a lot of movers and shakers, but people who are concerned about the land here in the Buckeye State, right?
Well, of course, we attract experienced no-till farmers. We're trying to get more people who are farming conventionally to come and learn about the great ways of doing it with no-till. As you may have seen when you drove here, there's too much land around here that's been plowed, and so we'd like to get more of those folks. But of course, we have the experienced ones here, and they contribute greatly to the program, whether they're on the agenda as speakers or not.
And this is a great preview before the Conservation Tillage Conference. It gives you a chance to kind of feel out the crowd and set the agenda for what's going to be happening in spring over in Ada, Ohio. Again this year, right?
Oh, yes, March 14th and 15th, and thank you for bringing that up,
Yeah.
Dan. I'm a little bit involved in that one, too. So we hope to get back to full attendance at that one, which would be around 800 people. And we've got David Hula, who most people in agriculture would recognize as the corn yield champion. And he 616 bushels per acre, I think, is over 600, and he's won that 4 different times. Now that was the highest number, but he's our keynote speaker. And then you saw here this morning, Dan, we had a Q&A session with nothing prepared, just speakers up there for an hour. David Hula is going to be on the stage for 2 hours.
Wow.
Just answering questions from people in the audience. We've got 4 great co-sponsors for that are going to be involved in that also. Pioneer, Calmer Corn Heads, Marion Calmer, get that one right, Meristem, and Brandt Products. So that's a great partnership with them, and other great things going on with the Conservation Tillage Conference.
With Bill Chain on that group this morning as far as the Q&A is concerned, let's talk about the other members up there that were fielding questions and their background and where they're from.
Well, Dave Brandt, and of course he's been involved in no-till and cover crops for almost forever, since the 1970s. Cody Beacom is also involved in cover crops and has become an expert on cover crops. He has bird agronomics. I should mention Dave Brandt has Walnut Creek Seeds.
Oh, yeah, right.
Then Warren Dick, who retired as a soil scientist with ORDC at Worcester. An OSU guy, and he's been president of the American Soil Science Society. Wow. So he's very knowledgeable nationally. And Bill Richards, can't leave out Bill Richards. He's been involved with no-till. In fact, he says, and I think he's right, he was experimenting without doing any tillage or with one pass tillage even before Glover Triplett started the famous no-till plots at Worcester 60 years ago. Wow. So, and of course, if you don't know, Bill was the chief of NRCS. Well, it was Soil Conservation Service, and then became NRCS under the first president, George Bush.
Wow.
So a long time ago, and he's well connected and very lively. And I've always told him, anytime I'm putting on a program, Bill, you're invited to be on it.
Oh, that's great. Hey, what were some of the more interesting questions that came up during that Q&A session?
Well, I think the interest in cover crops was one. Another was there was a lot of focus on the dollars involved.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like the federal government, the NRCS, in a way, they've got more money and they know what to do with, and it's our money.
Yeah, and we've struggled with that before, talking about how that can really get filtered down to the farmer, and it seems to be stuck at some point. What can we do to move that forward, move those dollars forward?
Well, Terry Cosby is the chief, and he lives in Fairfield County, so we've got direct contact with him. They need to hire more people in order to get programs out into the states. Yeah. So I guess we could just ask him, just send us $1 million and we'll figure out how to distribute it.
Well, seeing that's probably to happen. Probably the best thing for us to do is continue to communicate with our legislature and moving that forward, right?
Well, they'll expand the EQIP program and a couple other programs, so it'll get done. But it's an interesting situation. I can imagine being an administrator when you got a budget that's bigger and you don't really know what to.
Yeah, well, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, Randall Reeder has been our guest. We're here at the Ohio No-Till Conference in Plain City, Ohio. Once again, thanks for joining us, Randall.
Glad to have you here.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Happy to be here. And we'll be back with more in Ohio Country today right after this.